Good evening. Well, Mr. Frey, would you lead us in the pledge to the United States?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. Welcome to the first meeting of the Town of Milton Planning Board for 2025. For this evening, Diane Marin is out, and Brittany Yelenick will be serving as our alternate for the night. And the town board has appointed a new counsel to the Planning and Zoning Board, and it's my pleasure to introduce Glenn Bruning, attorney with Miller, Mannix, Shatner, and Hafner out of Glens Falls. I'd like Glenn to just briefly introduce himself, and then we'll all introduce ourselves to Glenn. So
Great.
hit the button.
Well, thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Board. Pleasure to be part of the team. Our firm has counsel to a lot of local towns in Warren and Washington and Saratoga County. And we do a lot of planning and zoning work. Mark Schachter, our one of our named partners, you've probably heard make presentations at a number of programs and trainings. So I'm super delighted to be part of your team. We've heard great things about the town and the town's work, and especially the planning board's work. So thank you.
Brittany, if you'd start, just introduce yourself.
My name is Brittany Yelenick, and I am a new member of the Planning Board Alternative. I live right down here on Greenfield Ave, really close. Been in Boston Spa for about 10 years now.
Oh, Nancy Padula. I don't know what more you want to know. I live nearby too.
John Bartow, I live on Middle Line Road.
John Whittle, I live up behind the airport. And I've been in resident for 37 or 38 years, something like that. So that's it.
My name is Bernadette Van Danza. I've been on the planning board for a little bit now, for maybe 4 years, I'm guessing. I should know. Very involved locally and lifelong resident. So thanks for being here.
And from the village.
Yeah, I don't like thank you for doing that. I feel funny.
Part of the
I'm a
town.
trustee.
Yeah, no, but from the village.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jim Marsicano. I live by John Whittle. And I've been on the board for 6 years now, I think. So my time's coming up. Nice to meet
That
you.
sounds bad.
Hi. I didn't see it that way.
Jim Fry, I live on Stone Church, been on the board about a year and lived in the town about 22 years.
And Sophia.
I introduced myself to Glenn earlier. I am the planning consultant currently with the town of Milton and the lighting years.
So thank you. So a couple of quick announcements. The really only special announcement I have is with the special use permit for the retail cannabis facility at 2124 Doubleday Avenue. We did receive a proximity protection clarification from the Office of Cannabis Management on December 23rd, determining they being 2,005 feet from the facility at 201 North Line Road. So it met the 2,000-foot distance setback. But we've also been apprised that the New York State Supreme Court has issued a preliminary injunction directing the Office of Cannabis Management to pause the processing of conditional adult retail dispensaries that did not submit proof of a municipality notice secured location by November 17, 2023. We're not sure how that's going to impact them. We think they've gotten a municipal notice secured location, but we're not sure what this injunction is. I got to send that to you, Glenn, to get a read on what that might be. We haven't heard anything from them. We approved them last month with two conditions. One, that the distance be confirmed, that's been confirmed, and the other, that they can get a full license, which is a requirement of our code. So we're unclear as to what this might mean for them going forward at this point. But that's the only announcements I had. Does anybody else have anything at this point? Okay, if not, we'll go to our first order of business, which is the approval of our meeting minutes of December 13th. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the Town of Milton Planning Board for December oops, I got 11th here. Hold on, make sure I get this date right. Was it the 11th or 13th? 11th, 2024. Sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Second,
I'll second.
Little, Van Dice. Is there any discussion or changes to the minutes? If not, please poll the board.
Mr. Marsicano,
Yes.
Ms. Padula,
Yes.
Ms. Van Denza,
Yes.
Mr. Whittle,
Yeah.
Mr. Fry,
Yes.
Ms. Yelenik,
Yes.
Chairman Barto.
Yes. Next, we'll open the meeting for public comment. Please note that we have one public hearing this evening on a major subdivision at 272 Stone Church Road. So if you have comments on that project, please wait till we commence the hearing and your comments can be on the record. We continue to have both virtual and in-person opportunities for comments. So I'd ask if you're zooming in with us and want to make a comment, please use the hand wave feature. I'd also ask you to limit your comments to 3 minutes. And if commenters try to avoid redundant comments, if you have written comments, please summarize them. And if you'd like to leave a copy with us, and we'll share them with all of the board members. I'll open the public comment period at 7:06 p.m. Does anybody here like to address the board at this time? Anybody online?
No hands.
Any last chance for public comment at this time? There being no comments, I will close the public comment period at 7:07, even though it's not quite that yet. Okay, our first project this evening is a major subdivision at 272 Stone Church Road. If you recall last month, we did our seeker determinations on the project and opened the public hearing. We adjourned the public hearing because Saratoga County and the applicant still had some items they had to work on relative to the airport runway protection overlay zones and potential easements and some clearing restrictions that had to be done there. The county, the applicant, and our planner met on those items on December 19th. And Sophia, I'd ask at this point if you just give us a summary of what came up at that meeting.
Sure, absolutely. So we were invited to sit in and attend the meeting that the applicant, the representative, had with Saratoga County Planning Board, or the Planning Department, excuse me, Saratoga County DPW, the engineering consultant affiliated with the Saratoga County Airport. We discussed kind of the hierarchy of needs with this particular subdivision and trying to get a better understanding about the types of easements and restrictions that would be applicable to the project. After a very informative discussion, we were under the impression that there was going to be maybe a little bit more time taken at the county in order to secure the easements because of a potential interest in compensation. That point is moot, and the applicant has provided draft easement language and distributed it to the county agencies as well as our department in order to get feedback. But it looks like the project would continue to advance, provided that the county agencies were comfortable with the easement language. So where we thought there might be a potential delay because the interest in compensation is no longer applicable at this time. So we've received draft easement language last week from legal counsel for the applicant, at which point we would like to also share that with our own legal counsel in order to just have the benefit of looking at that. We do have draft easements and associated maps, just again, to secure the interests of the Saratoga County Airport with the runway protection zone and the 3-dimensional easements that would be applicable to this site. So at this time, with that information, we would be coordinating with the county and seeing if that easement language was to their satisfaction, and provided that it meets the needs of the county airport and county planning, we would be able to continue advancing in our discussion and review of the project. There was also a kind of an unofficial consensus made with regard to the traffic mitigation proposed for the project. And it looks like we may anticipate the county being receptive to the installation of a 4-way stop at Geyser and Stone Church potentially in order to afford traffic mitigation for the project as the applicant had offered. So at this time, we are coordinating directly with the county agencies and the applicant. And depending on the feedback that they receive from legal counsel on the county's end, that would probably determine the timing in advance of the project.
Is the town mentioned in the easements at all, or only to the extent that we're going to get dedicated the stormwater retention area?
So you actually took a concern I had, and I guess I wasn't necessarily a concern, but that was a question that I was going to pose to our council when we had the time, but simply that, to what degree do these easements have to make any reference to any other easements or interests that the town may have with regard to being able to access the stormwater management area? So that would be something that I would probably be interested in getting a little review on, but that's the only other municipal reference that's made. It does address the restrictions or permissions for stormwater management infrastructure, so it does address stormwater. It doesn't expressly identify the municipality as having an interest. So I was also anticipating, again, my question was, is there any need to reference other easements, stormwater maintenance agreement that will exist within some of the same areas? Because the town will obviously have its own interest in being able to access that area project. So to the degree that that needs to be referenced, I'm not sure, and that's definitely something that legal counsel can lead us on, because that was my concern as well.
I just wanted to make sure we weren't
Absolutely.
responsible for any enforcement on any other properties.
Right, absolutely. So we'll distribute this and be able to kind of continue at least kind of in between meeting review of this. But again, the county is going to have to provide legal counsel review of that to protect their interests as well. So that's where the project stands, but we are actively coordinating with the applicants, county engineer, county DPW and planning on this issue.
And did they give any further information about how much clearing of the vegetation had to occur?
Well,
What their
there are,
expectations were?
yeah, so there are some dimensional markers that just indicate the areas of restrictions, and the specific vegetation clearing limits are kind of expressly put in that easement that the applicant is proposing to the county. But again, to the degree that we might need clarity, or we might suggest that that be included, I think that would be a great thing to review that legislation in accordance with.
Because I know there were a lot of comments from the public about
Yes,
how much buffer was going to be left in
absolutely.
between the developments and whatnot.
Right.
I was just wondering what.
Yeah, I think our, our best interest is to establish how far of a scope does this easement have to incorporate in order to protect the town's interest versus what does the town have as a mechanism to make sure that we have the proper parameters in place to monitor clearing, access to stormwater management, things of that nature. So it's definitely in process, and there's work being done.
Okay. Board have any questions at this point for that?
The only one I had referred to the stop sign at Geyser and
Yep.
and Stone Church.
Mhm.
Is that something that the county indicated they wanted to approve, or they were going to leave that to the planning board during the planning process, or were they going to do something different in that perspective?
So the kind of the cursory feedback was that I think they seemed generally accepting of the fact that they had bigger set of data and information provided by the applicant's engineer with regard to that traffic impact. They seemed amenable to saying, we think it's appropriate to put a four-way stop in. I imagine that would be expressly stated in the referral that we get back from Saratoga County Planning Board. They understand that's something we directive and consensus on. So they seemed that it appeared that they would be moving in that direction, but I would anticipate that comment would have to be included in a referral we receive from the county.
Yeah, but what I meant was the actual design of it, whether it's just going to be a couple of signs stuck into the dirt with a line, or whether it was going to have any type of extensive markings and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, imagining that the applicant would be providing any specs for offsite improvements that they would be doing in accordance with whatever county standards they have. So they don't have that information at this time. I think they were waiting to find out whether or not the county was going to be moving in the direction of providing traffic mitigation at that site. I think once they get that formal confirmation at that point, that they would have to provide a design detail for offsite improvements as part of their subdivision plans. And that would have to be reviewed by the people.
Thanks.
Okay, so at this point, we're going to have to reopen the public hearing for any public comment. So I will reopen the public hearing at 7:14 p.m. Is there any public that would like to make a comment on this subdivision at this point? Okay, anybody online want to make a comment at this point?
No hands.
Okay, then I will entertain a motion to resolve to adjourn the public hearing at 7:15 PM and to schedule it to reconvene at 7:05 PM on February 12th, 2025.
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? There being none, please call the board.
Mr. Marsicano,
Yes.
Fulla,
Yes.
Ms. Van Danza,
Yes.
Mr. Whittle,
Yes.
Mr. Fry,
Yes.
Ms. Yelenik,
Yes.
Chairman Barto.
Yes. Next, we have a continued review of the McDonald's site plan and special use permit for a drive-through at 10 Trieble Avenue. At this point, we do have a complete site plan review and special use permit for us. Mr. Wilson, you have a presentation.
Good evening. Happy New Year.
Mike, you didn't remind me.
So, since we last saw you, here's the current version of the site plan, which has not evolved that much since we last saw you. It's just simply slightly more refined and brought more in line with the full permit set that we submitted with the project, which included kind of the standard package of site plan, grading and drainage and stormwater, utility connections, lighting, landscaping. So you can see the plan is the exhibit I got up here gives you a sense of the pedestrian work we're gonna do as part of the project, along with the landscaping with the project. Again, I think we're trying to book match in a lot of ways Duncan, and I think we do that looking at if you just look at the sidewalk and of itself, we're gonna be pretty well aligned with the way Duncan developed the site. I know some comments from the town planner, we looked at, and I think we're gonna do some revisions to the landscaping plan. Tree selection, and probably spacing are gonna be tweaked a little bit. And we also had some additional comments from the town engineer. I didn't see anything in there that, was a real problem. It's just more refinements to the utilities, infrastructure design. It's a lot more details, which is all fine. The set was preliminary. I think we can address those as we move forward with the project. I didn't see any real problems with any of the comments so far. So, let's get to, what we talked about last time to talk about the building. Yes. So what we took away from last time, I think my best, representative down here in the lower right corner, with the revised building elevation, where we brought down the canopy on the drive-through to be a little more in scale with the rest of the building. And then we also tapered the columns for that as well to kind of reduce that massing. And I think somebody said referred to as more of a craftsman style look to those columns as well. So this is what you'll see right along Rollins Street for the new building. So that was really the primary change to the elevations based on last month's discussions with the. I think that's the end of my presentation.
Can you and perhaps Sophia walk me through the need for the variance?
Yes. Go back to oops. Yes. So the variance, if you look down here along Rollins Street, you have a 15-foot front setback and also a 10-foot with a 15-foot maximum setback and a 10-foot minimum setback along Rollins Street. So as you can see here, our canopy spans both drive-through lanes and ends up pretty right on top of the property line there. So we would need relief from that 10-foot minimum front setback. Now, as I talked to Sophia on the phone, this drives a lot. The narrowness of the site when you start just adding up dimensions of a bypass lane, a drive-through lane, 2 drive-through lanes to the entrance, meeting the town standard of 21 feet for the circulation lane along here, and then dimension for the angled parking, and then all of a sudden you're pushing up against the other property line on the other side of the property. So it's just that narrowness of the site combined with the need to kind of get a feature within that 15 feet kind of creates the need for that variance. I mean, there could be options where if you narrow this, then we need a variance for that. But if you narrow this drive aisle, that could create some safety and circulation issues. That's kind of the primary egress through the site, deliveries, et cetera. If you narrow that, that would grab a couple feet there and kind of reduce the need for that relief, some of that relief. And then I guess you could also maybe raise the question, well, what if you shorten the canopy and you put the columns in, between the 2 drive aisles? Now, that's going to create other issues now. You're going to have an island there in the middle of the 2 lanes. Now, the lanes are going to have to be wider, are going to kind of back to spreading things out again. So it's kind of unavoidable to kind of meet the need for this bypass lane, which is an important safety feature from a McDonald's standpoint. If somebody's in the drive-through, I don't want to go in a drive-through and need to bail. There's some kind of delay, it backs everything up. We need that bypass lane for safety and circulation while trying to meet the town's design guidelines and getting some architectural feature of building within that setback. It's kind of everything's kind of related between the site and the building.
Yeah. Yeah. I always thought it was from the curb, from the property line.
I actually looked from kind of an aesthetic.
So did they get a variance at Duncan as well?
Yeah, Duncan's canopy is about, again, if you look at street to street view, they're about 18 feet from the edge of the curb to the
Back.
canopy.
Okay, I didn't think it was that far
And we're
back.
gonna be about 10 feet. So visually, it's gonna look very similar.
Okay. And what'd you do for the landscaping on the front edge, on the Rollins Street side?
Yeah, we got,
Just the street trees?
we got street trees here, and then we got shrubs and low stuff mixed in there well to kind of break up that.
And is your sign in the center of that?
Sign's gonna be right over here in the corner, monument sign.
Okay.
Yeah.
We didn't think a monument sign right on Rollins Street would look better or more catchy.
You talking about over here?
No, right in the center.
Well, I don't got any room for that, really.
Oh, because your canopy's there.
I got a sidewalk I
kinda.
can put in, and there's really not room for it. And it kind of, I guess would match, Duncan's is right here,
Okay.
yeah. It's really the front door of everybody's,
Right.
plaza.
And is that the only road sign you have?
That's it, the rest of them are just building signs.
Yep.
And some directional signs at the drive.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are.
What'd you end up doing with the crosswalk?
Yeah, that's gonna be on the revised set. I need to get a little bit more survey back here just to figure out the grades and the best place to connect, but I think, yeah, we're gonna be looking at, connection back.
A direct there, because
We matched what Duncan did down in this corner, again, as just to kind of match what they did, but not provide the crosswalk, but we'll get something back here.
okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the board?
So what do we think about the determination, seeker? Where do we, land on this.
So the way we're looking at the sequencing of this right now is you're going to go to the ZBA on the 23rd.
Yep.
On the 12th, we'll get some feedback from them, do the seeker determination on the 12th, which will cover us for them. Help me out. When does the hearing for the zoning board will be
They schedule a hearing.
27th?
Fourth Wednesday, the fourth.
27th?
February 27th.
And I'm going to try to schedule our public hearing for the 12th of March. If I,
Right, assuming that whatever determinations, approvals, denials
Yep.
have been issued by the zoning board, at that point, we would be in receipt.
can I get the county planning, no, it's going to be April because I can't get the county planning referral.
It depends on the timing in which we receive the referral. If we're waiting for the formal referral, that would work toward April, I think on a timeline we discussed. We're receiving it on you, that would change potentially depending on when that was received in advance of our.
When's the ZBA meet relative in February, relative to the county planning board?
The week after the meeting,
That's the problem.
that's the problem. We were trying to figure out.
They want to know the ZBA approved before they.
But the only thing, the referral is for the special use permit, isn't it?
For the
The
drive-through.
drive-through, right, which isn't affected by the variance.
The only thing being if the footings changed, maybe that would potentially affect the configuration. I think that's the only thing that would.
I don't know how that happens.
We're working with guidance that we have received.
Yep.
We will continue to work on that.
Okay.
If that can happen by the time we meet in
Yep.
February, where we'd have to do our determination of significance, we will try to schedule the hearing in March.
And we'll keep our foot on the gas here, getting all the technical stuff done and address all Mary Beth's comments, Sophia's.
Yeah, and if you can get all that
So we'll keep,
to us, we will all, just so if we can,
Yep.
we can get that to the county. And then we'll also check on that question of the building department getting their
yeah, yep.
permit reviews
Yeah, we'll be
done.
making another submission later by the February meeting deadline
Yeah.
for this with revised drawing set, so.
And if you want to bring anything back to us in that February meeting, just to say, hey, are you guys sure you're set with landscaping, the grease traps, the
Absolutely. We'll see
stormwater and all that stuff, just so we're still moving.
Let's see where the technical comments are and everything else, and yes, I suspect we'll be back here in February,
Okay.
just to keep things moving.
But, and then we'll be doing the secret determination then anyways. But sorry about that.
All right.
I
I get it.
don't know what we can do.
Process. Alrighty,
All right,
thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have our site plan and special use permit for a cellular tower at 610 County Farm Road. This project also needs a area variance for the height and is scheduled to be on the ZBA agenda for January 23rd. Last month, we declared the planning board as lead agency under seeker.
Good evening.
Good
Attorney
evening.
Hyde Clark with Young Summer. Really, this meeting is more of an update for the board. The board did declare itself lead agency for seeker. We're not at the 30 days, so we can't make a determination on that. As you mentioned, we're back at the Zoning Board of Appeals on the 23rd.
Yep.
Just to keep you updated as to that meeting, the zoning board did request additional coverage plots at lower heights,
Yep.
so we can show why we need the height that we are proposed for that area variance.
Yep.
We did receive comments back from Sophia on Friday. One of the items that we were missing in our application was the visual EAF,
Yep.
which we submitted hard copy this evening and submitted electronically. One of the things with this application is the existing tower that's at the
Yep.
county facility. So what we did was request our engineers to provide more details as to why we can't locate on that structure. I think it's important that we elaborate as to why we're proposing this. Did have another conversation with the county and again confirmed that there is no room for our equipment on that tower. I do know that AT&T or somebody's doing maintenance, but
Yep.
that's still not gonna provide for the height that we need for our equipment. One question from this board was the location of our access road.
Yep.
So we did raise that with the county. We're looking to amend that location to try to address one of the comments that came up about, coming out your front door and looking straight down that alleyway to the tower compound. So Amanda, I'm not sure if you're able to pull up our site plan, if I could just show the board what we're thinking. We did confirm with the county that they do require that we have access, separate access from.
Sure,
their
sure, I
existing
get that.
entrance. So. And the ultimate location of this is subject to negotiation with the county on
Mhm.
agreeing to an amendment to our lease. Yeah, as we're pulling up. So if you can imagine, initially it was kind of centered on the neighbor's residence.
Yep.
There is, if you move west, so if you're looking at the site plan and you're looking west or
Yep.
left as you're staring at it, there is existing vegetation screening on that side of the road between the neighbors.
Mhm.
So our thought is to square up the access road with that existing screening. So here you have the access road kind of centered on the residence here.
Yep.
What we're discussing with the county is to line it up actually on that property line, go straight back like that, and then into the tower compound that way.
Go in and take a right into the,
Take a-
yep, okay.
This being a garage, the other residence being here, so we get some separation. Again, there's existing landscaping trees here on this side of the road, so we're kind of trying to
Okay.
square up with that as opposed to being squared up with the house.
Okay.
Would like to hear if the board would like to see.
That's better.
that,
Did
so we
you
can
happen
keep
to
it-
mention that to the ZBA or did they raise this?
They
It
raised the
came- It
question
came
as
from
well.
a ZBA board member, the comment.
What's that?
The comment originally came from a ZBA board.
Yeah, they
member.
raised it at the meeting as well. So, we had said that we had heard that comment from
Yeah.
planning and we're looking to address that.
Good.
Even though it wasn't related to the
Yeah.
area variance relief. So, if the
That,
board think, yeah,
that's
I think
fine.
it's a better option. So-
Yep.
So we will pursue that with the county.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all.
And again, I wish we could be dealing with this FEAF and I hope we don't run into that same sequencing that we're not here until April trying to do this. The same thing could happen with waiting for the ZBA to make their decision. No, I guess it shouldn't. I mean, theoretically, could we go ahead and try to schedule our hearing for March right now?
So
No, we're not going to have the county referral again.
No, we should have the county referral.
They're not going to take until, well,
Currently, there is a public hearing scheduled at the zoning board for
For the end of January.
the end of January.
so we have to do secret right now then. They won't be able to do it.
Well, so we're not past the 30 days.
We got to do it.
Okay.
We're 30 days. What do we
Well, we
got to
were
wait
here,
30 days for?
We were here December.
Wait, what are we going to wait 30 days for? We don't have to wait 30 days. What are we going to wait
As long
30?
as the involved agencies.
There's no involved neighbors other than the
Yeah, other than
ZBA.
ZBA, as long as they've consented to it.
Right. And you've court.
We declared lead agency. They didn't say anything, did they?
Well, it's just, but and I've coordinated with both of the chairmen who understand that,
Yeah.
working on a coordinated review, and Mr. Trieble seemed.
If we don't declare lead agency, they can't conduct their hearing.
Well, I
Oh,
think
you've declared
it's
lead
actually
agency.
agency. We just have to make a determination of significance based on classification as a stipulation. So I guess I would say if the board feels like they have adequate information, we received the visual EAF today, so that does require review. But the degree to which the board is comfortable with proceeding with that,
You guys-
that's really a board determination.
You guys comfortable with going forward with the
Yeah.
FEAF?
Yep.
Okay, I better pull it up. No. I don't want to waste anybody's time.
I agree.
Okay. I'm gonna get to it. FEAF Part 2. This is the long one. A lot of questions here. Okay. I believe this is 18 questions. So I'm going to read each one of the main questions, and if there's no impacts, I won't go into the sub-questions. So first one is impact on land. Proposed action may involve the construction or physical alteration of land surfaces of the proposed site. I am going to say no. Stop me if you think there's something else. Impact on geological features. The proposed action may result in the modification or destruction or inhibit access to any unique, unusual landforms on the site. I'm going to say no. Impacts on surface water. The proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or other surface water bodies. No.
Chairman Barto, may I just make a note? And I don't think it changes the trajectory of the review, but my only question would be impact on land and not because there's a significant adverse impact on land, but just by virtue of it being a construction site. Wouldn't question number one be yes, but then in subsequent sections, we would indicate that they would fall within no or small impact thresholds for the questions A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But if that's out of precedence with what the board doesn't care, because the only thing that I was looking at this was, instead of it say being a legislative action or whatever it may be, I think it's just simply alluding to the fact there's going to be construction on site. I think then you have the opportunity to say there's not going to be significant or permanent adverse.
Fine to do that.
It's going to be a brief, temporary disturbance kind of a thing.
Then
I don't think it precludes the finding from.
I'll read the sub questions then. Proposed action may involve the construction on land where the depth to water table is less than 3 feet. No or small impact. Proposed action may involve the construction on land where the bedrock is exposed or generally within 5 feet. I'm going to say no or small impact. Proposed action may involve excavation removal of more than 1,000 tons of material. I'm going to say no or small impact. Proposed action may involve construction on land where bedrock is exposed or within 5 feet. I said no. It's not checking. Proposed action may involve the construction that continues for more than 1 year in multiple phases. No. Proposed action may result in the increase in erosion, whether from physical disturbance of vegetation or removal therefrom. No. Proposed action is or may be located in a coastal erosion hazard area. I hope not. Yes. Okay. Question 4, impact on groundwater. The proposed action may result in additional use of groundwater or may have the potential to introduce contaminants to groundwater or an aquifer. No. I wish I had a mouse. Impact on flooding. The proposed action may result in development lands subject to flooding. No. Question 6, impact on air. The proposed action may include a state-regulated air emission resource. No. Impact on plants and animals. The proposed action may result in the loss of flora or fauna. No. No, it's okay. Impact on agricultural resources. The proposed action may impact agricultural resources. No. Impact on aesthetic resources. Land use of the proposed action are obviously different from or in sharp contrast to current land use patterns between the proposed project and the scenic or aesthetic resources. I'm going to say no. Impact on historic and archaeological resources. The proposed action may occur in or adjacent to historic or archaeological resources. I'm going to say no. Sensitive. Impact on open space and recreation. The proposed action may result in a loss of recreational opportunities or reduction of an open space resource as designated in any adopted municipal open space plan. Saying no. 12, impact on critical environmental areas. There are no critical environmental areas. I'm going to say no. Impact on transportation. Proposed action may result in a change to an existing transportation system. I'm going to say no. Impact on energy. The proposed action may cause an increase in the use of any form of energy. I'm going to say no. Impact on noise, odor, and light. The proposed action may result in an increase in noise, odors, or outdoor lighting. I'm going to say no. Impact on human health. The proposed action may have an impact on human health from exposure to new or existing sources of contaminants. I'm going to say no. 17, consistency with community plans. Proposed action is not consistent with an adopted land use plan. I'm going to say no. Consistency with community character. The proposed action is inconsistent with the existing community character. I'm going to say no. That's it. Does anybody have anything different with that? Okay, I'm going to save this document before I go and forget it.
I have a thought.
Got a
I
question?
don't think you could answer yes on impact on land and then say no in all impacts.
I said there was small to no or small to moderate impact.
I think they're trying to establish the severity and the impact associated with the construction. So I think that section was expressly intended to say the applicant is pursuing a construction project, but that project falls under the thresholds of a significant adverse impact. And
I understand that. Well, I just didn't hear any check on the form.
oh, okay.
Oh, I checked yes, that there was an impact
Yes.
on land. And then under all the subcategories,
Yes.
I checked, hold on, I gotta get over here. I checked there would be no or small impact for the proposed action may involve the construction on land where the depth to water table,
Okay.
no or small, for all those. Now I'm gonna save this before I goof it up. Okay, now I'm going to go to the FEAF Part 3. And this is a unlisted action, correct? And have the visual EAF, yep. I have to add that there. I'm going to check that the project will have no significant adverse impacts on the environment. Therefore, an environmental impact statement will not be prepared, and accordingly, this negative declaration is issued. And there, that's it. So I'm going to ask for a motion from the board that the chair be authorized to sign this form, that the project will result in no significant adverse impacts on the environment, and a negative declaration is to be issued.
I like the motion.
What is that? A second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Any further questions?
Mr. Marsicano,
Yes.
Padula,
Yes.
Ms. Van Denza,
Yes.
Mr. Whittle,
Yes.
Mr. Fry,
Yes.
Miss Yelenik,
Yes.
and Chairman Barto.
Yes. Okay, so we've done that. Can we now schedule our public hearing for March 12th at 7:05 PM? Is there any reason we can't? Should the ZBA do something different?
Can be adjourned.
Well, we just got post notice. We'll know. We won't post the notice until after the ZBA makes a decision and refuse to post notice.
Does that give us the time advance?
So he needs 5 days, right? He only needs 5 days.
Perfect.
You good with that?
Yeah. Does the board meet in February? I guess.
Before we meet, before the ZBA meets. Wait,
But our hearing's the 23rd.
oh, I guess we can do
I think the
that.
factor that we're waiting on is the county referral.
Oh, we gotta wait for the county
Our
referral.
end. Yeah, so I think the ZBA could potentially take action as early as the end of the month, right? In theory, you get approved or denied or whatever it may be.
We're gonna have to get the county referral. Is the county gonna get a referral? Yeah, they're gonna have another meeting in June before our March meeting, right?
So they're meeting after this meeting, before the ZBA, then they're meeting in between our planning board meeting on the 12th.
Shit.
So they won't be able to act on a referral or give us a referral until what, the 17th or 18th of February?
February 20th is when they meet.
Okay. So I think that's what we were trying to figure out, like what's the densest time?
But we could still do it in our March meeting.
Right.
That's fine.
So when's our March meeting?
12.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion to have a public hearing on let me get this. Cell tower at 610 County Farm Road on March 12th at 7:05 PM.
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Second. Any discussion? There being no discussion, please pull the board.
Mr. Marsicano,
Yes.
Ms. Padula,
Yes.
Ms. Van Denza,
Yes.
Mr. Whittle,
Yes.
Mr. Fry,
Yes.
Miss Yelenik,
Yes.
and Chairman Barto.
Yes. Okay, if something comes up, we'll keep you posted. We won't even have this on our February agenda unless necessary.
Yeah, the only thing I don't imagine that the county will surprise us with an early.
Or unless
referral. That's the only
unless
thing
the
I can think
ZBA does something weird.
of. Right.
I
that's
don't
the-
expect
right,
it.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, if we feel the need to update the board, we can
Let us know.
certainly contact.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, let me save this before I go. And then our last item on the agenda is the referral of our local law for a moratorium on large-scale solar systems. But let me save this before I forget. Yeah, I'm filling all of that form. Okay. Okay, so on December 18th, the town board did schedule a public hearing for January 29th of 2025, enacting a moratorium on large-scale solar farms and battery storage facilities, and referred the proposed local law to us for our review. I provided each of you with a draft memo on the referral, basically referencing that this is a good moratorium and outlining a couple of considerations. First thing I said is thus far, we've approved 5 of these community solar farms, 2 of them on former sand and gravel mines, 1 on a former landfill, one on a half forest, half kind of fallow hayfield location, and one on a former horse farm and half hay silage field. But also bordering kind of a R1 residential district. And also saying that we've started to see some concerns relating to that encroachment on neighboring zoning districts, some comments we've received about loss of viable farmland, some quality soil impacts, impacts on solar energy affecting the rural character of the community, and then just how much solar should the town of Milton accommodate overall. So, we also noted that we have 2 solar farms that have yet to commence construction. The one at in Middle Grove on the landfill, the one on Stone Church Road, both due to delays of other agencies reviewing them, our negotiation of a pilot agreement and a host community benefit that have not been at the applicant's fault. I mean, they've been diligently pursuing them, and they shouldn't be subject to this moratorium going forward. So we've said that they should be excluded from it. And we also noted that our zoning regulations are devoid of any regulation of battery storage. So theoretically, somebody could come in tomorrow and say, I'd like to do a battery storage, and we wouldn't have any standards to review it with. It'd be difficult to say how we would go about reviewing it. I don't know for the fact that it's not in our zoning regulations, whether or not we could deny it, but we'd be in an awkward place with it. So in one sense, I'm saying it's good. Let's go ahead and let's consider this a moratorium. On the other hand, I'm reminding them that when you adopt a moratorium, you set up a period of time. In this case, they're saying 12 months. And the courts are pretty routinely saying, okay, you could do that. 12 months is probably not an unreasonable time, but you better diligently pursue that and get in place how you're going to deal with that. In one way, the town could deal with it and just say, we're done, at least with respect to solar farms, unless you got another sand and gravel mine or another former landfill. We don't want any more. But either way, we've got to figure out what we're going to do with them. And then I think we seriously got to figure out what we want to do with battery storage. It's inevitably going to probably come our way again. If you look to our south, you're seeing it in Charlton, you're seeing it in Boston, town of Boston. You look to our west, there's a ton of it in Fulton and Montgomery County and at larger scale. The other thing I think I pointed out in the draft letter, if not, I will. This doesn't affect anything larger than 25 megawatts. If somebody comes in with a 25 megawatt or larger solar farm, that's exempt from local regulation. Our moratorium won't have an impact on it. That's strictly up to the Office of Renewable Energy Siting at that point, and all holds barred against any local regulation. So I don't know if you had a chance to look at the memo I drafted. I couldn't print it out, so all I got is electronically. But does anybody have any questions on that or thoughts?
The only thing I had for your memo is, since we don't have any regulations, should we encourage them to make the regulations if they're going to allow it after that we should do that in the period of the 12 months?
Oh, that's why I think I did say it in it, didn't I? In the memo?
Let me double check.
I can pull it up.
1 minute.
I encouraged them to say, get it going.
It went with your annotated.
Annotated.
Email.
And didn't give Glenn any time to review it. So when I'm going to ask him the resolution, if you authorize me and Glenn to finalize it, he may have some thoughts. Finally, remind the board that the moratorium for 12 months, and they should put in place the means to diligently develop the necessary planning and code response within the specified time frame.
Oh, I thought we would have. Okay, yeah, I see how you did it. Yep, that works.
I did have a question. Is it a little bit of a misnomer if this moratorium on large scale solar, should they maybe adjust that language?
They called the law large scale.
Because I mean, you know what I
It
mean? If
does.
the state has final control on truly like the defined large solar sites, I mean, it's kind of giving almost a false sense of
Security, yeah.
to the residents. So maybe is there a way to better word that? So
I could say that. I kind of did in one sense, because we call it
yeah, you could say more
large
vaguely.
scale. Well, we call them solar farms. I tried to say
Yeah.
they're not really farms. Although a lot of people refer to them as that.
Solar installations.
Yeah.
Do we want to give some kind of a own advice from the board on how many or not? You're leaving it up to the town board to make that decision, to go through, take a look at viability and planning and code response.
Yep.
But we're not having an input in what the town should or should not do, which might be okay.
Not at this point. I mean, I think, yeah, we're not really giving them a planning advice at this point, other than saying you should put together a committee or something and figure it out.
Okay.
I think that is the smart thing they should do, is sit down and have somebody really take a hard look of saying, do we have our fair share? Have we done enough? Are they in the right locations? I mean, right now, the current law says you can put these community solar projects anywhere in R2. It doesn't say try to avoid prime ag soils, try to avoid, be further separations from neighboring zoning districts, particularly the R1, maybe the hamlet. There's none of that's in there about trying to buffer those areas. It just says in the R2.
I think
If we had a town planner, we'd be okay.
Well, we got a town planner now. We did. We'll let her do all the work.
with that regard though too, because they have not done the work and we haven't done the work to determine that with actual studies, I would be reluctant to say, oh, when we have X amount of numbers. I just think that opens up, like, it's not our job.
I think they should task a group of something, either hire somebody to do it or task a group to do it, But yes, do a little analysis and figure out, what do you want to do? But 12 months is not a lot of time. If they're going to do it, they really ought to get started on it. I mean, we've spent a year on a comprehensive plan. Now that's a lot bigger, and we still got another 8 months or more to do. And then if they start rewriting the code, it's going to be 2027 before we come up with zoning amendments. At one point they said, well, we'll wait until the comprehensive plan's done. I was like, no, that's not going to work for a moratorium. You can't do that. So it's okay. I'll gussy this up a little more with Glenn's input. We'll try to get them something by the end of next week, and they'll have it before the 29th. All right. So with that, I'll entertain a motion for the chair to work with council to finalize a memo and convey it to the town board in advance of their meeting on January 29th, 2025.
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Tom Whittle. Second?
I'll second.
Jim Marciano. Any discussion? None, please pull the board.
Ms. Marciano?
Yes.
Ms. Padula?
Yes.
Ms. Van Danza?
Yes.
Mr. Whittle?
Yes.
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Ms. Yelenick?
Yes.
Chairman Barto?
Yes. And if there's any other matter to be brought before the planning board tonight? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn at 7:58 PM. All those in favor signify, well, I need a motion.
So move.
Don Whittle, second.
I'll second.
Bernadette Van Days, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Nay. We stand adjourned. Wow, that's an early meeting.